Welcome back. Remember what we're looking at? We're focusing on our rich fossil history and fossil record here in South Africa, and we're looking at some sites across South Africa that have evidence of fossils that have been discovered that are records of life that existed in prehistoric times millions of years ago. All right, so we're still in the Eastern and Western Cape, and we are talking now about fossil placoderms, which have been found in Paleozoic rocks. Well, this is a model of what a placoderm looks like. They were armored carnivorous fish that were as large as a bus. Can you imagine being chased by one of these in some prehistoric sea? They were huge, and you can see the structure of the jaws. They were armored, their body was covered with bony plates. They must have been fearsome predators in the oceans of those times. Now, a very interesting organism that we need to talk about that has made South Africa very famous as far as the fossil records are concerned, and that is of the coelacanths. Coelacanths were thought to be extinct. They're a form of fish, and they were thought that these organisms went extinct millions and millions of years ago. Scientists have discovered fossils of these fish, and that's how they knew that they existed a very long time ago. But they thought that these organisms had gone completely extinct until one was discovered off the coast of East London. And since, more have been found living off the coast of Sodwana. When a group of organisms has survived for millions of years in a relatively unchanged form, and they have a fossil record but still alive today, we call them living fossils. This means that the organisms are extant and alive today, but we have fossil records dating back millions of years that show them in a very, very similar form and structure. And so the fossils exist, the fossil record is there, but the living organism is still with us today. That is the very interesting case of the coelacanth. Many fossil coelacanth fish have been discovered, and between 390 and 80 million years ago is the time that they were thought to have lived. But in 1938, this living coelacanth was brought in with a haul of fish off the Eastern Cape coast. No fossil fish which are exactly the same as living coelacanths have been found, but the fossils of the ancient coelacanths are very, very similar to the modern specimens. All right, let's move out of the water and onto the land, and let's have a look at some land dinosaurs and mammal-like reptiles such as Dicynodont. Dicynodont roamed in Glossopteris fern forests that formed in the Karoo, and their fossils are on display in New Bethesda in the Eastern Cape. Fossils of Glossopteris tree trunks are quite common near Escourt and Moy River in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, Glossopteris fossils are very, very interesting. They were a kind of fern-like tree that existed in huge forests right across South Africa. They are responsible for our huge coal deposits that we find today in South Africa. Because of course, as these trees died and the leaves and the trunks fell into a kind of muddy swamp area, they were subjected to being covered by sediments, and they were compressed, and their organic parts of them, the wood, the leaves, were converted into carbonized fossils, which we know as coal. A fossil plesiosaur was found near Uitenhage in the Eastern Cape. During the Mesozoic, ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs and other huge marine reptiles were some of the largest sea animals that have ever existed. And it's quite exciting to realize that some of these fossils have been discovered in South Africa. Eucyclosaurus was one of the very first dinosaurs discovered in Africa, and it was discovered near Lady Grey, also in the very northern part of the Eastern Cape. Fossils of dinosaurs such as Massospondylus have been found near Golden Gate in the Free State. I think you can have a look here at some of the pictures of some of these examples of dinosaurs. This is Massospondylus. You can see that we had dinosaurs roaming around in South Africa millions and millions of years ago. South Africa is the only place in the world where there are fossils that show changes from mammal-like reptiles called therapsids to the first true mammals, and these are found in the rocks in the Eastern Cape and Lesotho. And of course, our hugely rich fossil history from places such as Taung and Sterkfontein, the fossil records of Australopithecus, the ancient hominids. And so I think you can see that right across southern Africa, we have a wonderfully rich fossil history. I want you to stay with us for after the break. We're going to be focusing more on the evolution of humans.